Welcome to the Education Exchange. I'm your host, Superintendent Jeremy Caius here at the Tolleson Union High School District, and this is a very special day with our 9/11 podcast. And we actually have Sara out in the field for this podcast, and we're gonna kick it over to her just in a minute. But first, I just wanted to share my 9/11 story. Uh, Anyone, if you were born 1990 or earlier, you definitely have a 9/11 story. It's one of those days that you just don't forget where you were or what you were doing the moment that 9/11 began. And for me, I was actually in the United States Army. I was stationed down in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, over there in southern Arizona, with the headquarters company for the 11th Signal Brigade. We just had our physical training that morning, which included practicing for our flag football team. I was on the company flag football team, and we're getting ready for our next game. Went home, was getting all cleaned up, getting ready to go into the office, and then that's when I just happened to flip the TV on and start watching the news, and then I saw what was going on, and and it was a lot of mixed reactions. It was the normal reaction that every American had to this experience of the oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, but also the reaction of knowing that I may be one of the ones tasked to go deal with what was happening. And sure enough, the phone rang. A code word was provided, and I knew I needed to get to the office immediately. Um, it was a very long day of watching the news, followed by weeks and months of wanting to know what we were going to be asked to do. And while members of my unit did deploy, I did not. I was getting pretty close to. I was in my final year with the Army at that point in time, and I was able to separate from service without deployment. I definitely would have went if I was called upon, but that was an experience that you definitely don't forget. Our base was an open base at the time. It was very quickly a shutdown, lockdown base starting with that day. So it was a very significant change in life for all of us. Going to the, anyone who was around back then knows that just going to the airport has changed significantly since 9/11. Things are not the way it used to be prior to that event. So definitely, very. It's just one of those events that just changes our way of life. And to see one of our schools doing such an activity to really try to bring some of the aspects of that experience to those who weren't there, who didn't have a personal connection, who didn't have some way of knowing what happened on 9/11. It's very heartwarming to see our school trying to make that front and center for everyone to remember what people went through on 9/11. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it out to our field correspondent, and Sarah's going to lead you through what's entailed in that event.
Welcome back to the Education Exchange. I'm Sara Clawson, Public Relations and Marketing Specialist for the Tolleson Union High School District. Today is September 11th, and we are at La Joya Community High School with two of our teachers. Please go ahead and introduce yourselves to us.
Hi, I'm David Hoffman. I am a PE teacher, boys basketball coach here at La Joya Community High School.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Williams, wellness teacher here at La Joya Community High School.
Thank you so much. So today, La Joya is hosting an event to remember and to honor the events that unfolded on September 11th of 2001. Can you tell me a little bit about what is happening here at the school?
I'll start. So we have an event planned that's kind of around our PE classes, and then we've opened it up for the rest of the classes on campus, where it's a day where we go outside and kind of a fitness day, and we try to replicate some of the of what the firefighters and first responders faced on that day by walking some bleacher laps and being outside and trying to just be involved in a certain amount of activity that's going to simulate how long and how I'm sure it was
arduous, like
arduous.
how
Yeah,
hard it
the
was.
conditions were.
Yeah.
So, walk me through, not literally, but walk me through what happens. Is there a discussion in the classrooms before the students come out to the football field?
Yes, we will typically set it up the day before and kind of just as tomorrow's 9/11, and this is because there will be announcements throughout the school that we have a 9/11 Remembrance Day walk.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll kind of mention, hey, we're doing that in our PE classes tomorrow. You need to dress appropriately. We're going to be outside. And then we kind of set up a little bit about why we do it. And then when we get outside, we have the classes together. We also spend a minute and just kind of summarize, we're doing this, why we're doing it, and then this is what we're asking the students to do.
Do the students take it seriously?
You're always going to have those students that won't buy in, but I think a good chunk of students that do buy into our day and take it serious is because of the personal accounts that a lot of our teachers, a lot of the stories that they like to say before doing our walk. There's quite a few that actually knew people that were in the towers that day. So when we make it more personalized and something that you can connect to, the kids tend to take it more seriously.
Do each of you have a personal story surrounding 9/11 that you could share?
Sure. I remember it. I want to say it was my 4th year teaching, and I was in a small school in the Midwest. And I just remember being in a room going through the lesson, and a girl ran in and said, they just blew up New York City. And we were like, what? And this was the day of very limited internet access, and we tried to get online. Everything was crashed. We couldn't see anything. Eventually we found a TV in another room, and like all the classes just were in wherever they could find a TV, and just we were all watching that, just in a state of kind of disbelief of what was happening that day. And that was kind of one of my biggest takeaways, just the whole shock of what's really happening, and then it just took a while to be able to figure that out. We didn't have that instant knowledge of what was going on right away.
I have a similar story, actually. I was a freshman in college, and I cannot remember what classroom I was in, but I was in Ohio. That's where I'm from. And so I was on the same time zone as New York. And when it hit, we knew. At the time, I worked for the newspaper. I was an editor with the newspaper. So instantly, my thought is go to the newsroom and see how I can help. And of course, it was very busy. And the story that I worked on was how Ohio was rerouting phone calls because they couldn't, it was overloaded in New York. So we were rerouting phone calls through our system to get, emergency messaging out and such. But what about for you, Jennifer?
I was 16 and I was a junior in high school, and I was just going about this is my hometown, Avondale. So time zone wise, we're a little bit behind, but I was going through my usual routine, popped on my TV so I could listen to some music and watch some music videos, and there was news on. And I was like, what's going on? What is happening? Oh, wow, this is serious. And I remember just sitting on the edge of my bed watching my TV, and my mom didn't want to send me to school. My dad was like, no, we're all the way over here in Arizona. She'll be okay. Send her to school. Got ready, went to school, and that's all we did. We watched the TV.
What school did you go to?
Awafria Union High School.
All right.
And I went to first hour, second hour, went to homeroom, just watching. And third hour is just about to end. Announcement came on, and they actually sent all of us home. They were like, we feel it is time for you to be with your families who don't know what's going on. And that's when it really sank in. Whoa, this is really serious. So I like to speak from the perspective of I am you. I was you right now when this happened. And this is how it impacted my life. And moving forward, it was very different.
When you are sharing these stories with the students, what kind of questions do they have for you?
Were you scared?
Yeah, it usually starts off with, where were you? What were you doing? Do you remember it? And then, were you scared? Or what happened next? Or what were most people, how were they acting at the time? The kids in school, and what did your classes do? And I think we're the same way. I think we got out of school early as well that day. And Like I remember one of the first things I remember is like everyone had American flags all of a sudden overnight. They were everywhere, and that was that, and just like people, they're said, oh, they're going to close all the gas stations, and then close the airports, and then that did happen, and then I think there's a lot of rumors and things are going around because no one really knew for certain what was happening for a little while, and so it's just sifting through all of that, as a teacher and trying to lead. I know as much as you guys do, but let's think about, what's realistic and what's plausible and just kind of work through it that way. But yeah, it was quite a chain of events on that day.
Yeah. And 24 years ago, it was different how communication spread. But so within the last 24 years, do you reflect differently since you were in the moment then, and now you're sharing that moment with your students and you're organizing this community event that's happening here today? It's almost full circle a little bit, just because you're still in an education setting and you're reaching out to your community. Why did the event that's happening right now, why was it formed? Just a few years ago, right? Whose idea?
I had heard about it. There was a couple other schools, just like, because it seems like there's always, well, I guess would have been right around the 20th year anniversary, and there was a lot of the remembrances of what happened.
Okay.
And I'd heard from some other schools around the nation, like, oh, we do this or we do that. And I'm like, this would be interesting. And then our principal, Dr. Sorensen, approached us and was like, do we do anything for this? And I'm like, we can, like, let's do something. We weren't sure. So it just kind of word of mouth from what other schools had done is how we started it. And then we planned, and he's been a great help as well. We've done a little bit more every year. We're able to have some first responders here today. And I think that really helps some of the buy-in with the kids. Like she was talking, there's some that right away are like, yeah, this is cool. And some are like, whatever. And then when we have some firemen that are here, they're like, hey, put our suit on and go up the bleachers. And so your kid's like, yeah, I can do that. And they put it on and like, holy cow. And then we try to relate like, okay, now imagine for, all the flights of the World Trade Center.
How many flights was it?
I'm not a history teacher. I don't remember. But and not only that, just how hard that was physically, but then imagine mentally what the state of panic that everyone's in. And you're trying to go up when everyone's coming down, and extreme physical conditions with the heat and the smoke and things falling. And then just the stress of everything happening. You don't know what's happening. It's like, we can't replicate any of that. So
No.
You think it's hard to do one set of bleachers here with this on, put yourself in those shoes, and I think it kind of helps them be a little more appreciative of the sacrifice that a lot of them made.
We have a little bit of heat here.
We have that
but
part.
certainly
Yeah.
not a comparison, not a fair comparison. No. And so the students have a choice of going up the bleachers. Is it both sides of the football field?
Yeah, so we figured it out, someone did, smarter than me, that if we do every set up and down the bleachers on both sides of the track, and we do that 4 times, it's pretty close to the height of one of the buildings. So we say in a perfect world, if you can do 4 laps running of that, you'll face what they did. So that's like kind of this is the highest that you can do. And then we usually ask our kids to try and do 1 lap. And then after that, other than that, just be walking on the track. And even in the heat with that, it just, this is hard, but imagine what they faced on that day.
And you say that the community has stepped up and they've been involved as well. I was at the event last year and I did see some parents who were there, and I saw some of our governing board members and some other people from district office and other schools come over to participate, as well as La Joya teachers too. Do you hope that every year it will grow bigger as far as the community involvement?
I would hope so. I think it's very important, if it is a remembrance, that we continue it, and it just is a ripple effect so that it can spread out in the community. It's very important. I mean, history, we're not history teachers,
Yeah.
but it's important to know, what happened and how it has affected so many of us, even for our students that weren't necessarily alive at that time.
None of them
Yeah.
should have been alive at the time.
It's hard to believe now, but yeah.
Right? Gosh, it's crazy. Was there anything else that we can share? Oh, you have some items here. I know that our audio listeners can't really see them, but if you wanted to describe what you have right there on the table for us.
Just like Dave said, American flags popping up all over the place. This is actually something from school. Everybody was doing little ribbons
That was from when you were in school? So when you were
Mhm.
16?
Yes, I'm not a hoarder. But this is something that we just, and I think there were things to purchase because we started doing like fundraisers and whatnot to try to raise money to send to specific organizations that were helping. And then I was a part of that flag movement. So this was my 16-year-old self shirt. And I remember spirit days at school. Wear your American flag shirts, wear your pride shirts. And then this is me, 16, my little brother, and my little cousin. It was now a part of our culture. Like, we were proud.
Have either of you been to New York to see the memorial site?
I have not.
Unfortunately, no. I'd love to go someday. We had plans. We just haven't had a chance to do it yet.
It's overwhelming just to see the footprint of each of the buildings and the names. It really is. It's overwhelming. And I have small children and they aren't familiar yet with what happened. You know, they're really young to take in that kind of history. And I don't know what I'd say to them. The world is so different, and how they can learn from history and how our country responded, and what they'll be taught about it in school today.
I think also remembering going through it, when this was all happening, it was surreal, and just like life is going to be different from now on. Nothing is going to be the same. And just kind of remember having that thought in my head, like, I don't know what the future holds, but, because kids are like, are we going to go to war now? It was like a big question at the time. And like, I don't know. But you just knew that things were not going to be the same moving forward. And it's like, where do we go from here?
All right. Well, I do see that today has been quite successful with the event out there. We appreciate everyone who has come out to walk the bleachers or around the track. We thank our community partners, Avondale Fire, police. Who else is out there today?
I think we have a few military personnel as well that are here.
Okay. And thank them for sharing their stories with the students, because I know they've received a lot of questions too about their own experiences. Thank you for joining me today on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to this episode of the Education Exchange, where we aim to enlighten our parents and empower our students. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Education Exchange. Have a question or want to be a guest on our podcast? Email podcast@tuhsd.org for more information. Missed an episode? Catch all seasons of the Education Exchange on your favorite streaming platforms or at www.tuhsd.org/podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the Education Exchange.